Hey everybody, in today's video I'll be doing my top 10 bucket list roller coasters. Now keep in mind this is my opinion, and feel free to leave your opinion down in the comments below, and let's get into it. Starting off at number 10 we have Expedition GeForce at Holiday Park in Germany. Now the one thing about this ride that I think looks amazing is that first of all the speed on this thing is it's really fast. It's only 170 feet tall, but it goes about 75 miles an hour. And you'd think a coaster that goes 75 miles an hour would be maybe like 220, 230 feet tall, but no, this thing's only 173. Now, the one thing that makes this a bucket list coaster is the ejector airtime on this looks incredible. Looks like there's some really good laterals on this thing, and it just overall looks like a really good ride. Next up, we have Lightning Ride at Dollywood in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And the one thing about this ride is the airtime is really the main reason why this is a bucket list coaster, is because the airtime on this thing it's got to be some of the best airtime that's on a roller coaster ever. It's got that quadruple down, which looks amazing. It's got that enormous wave turn, and just this ride in general is just huge. I mean, it's the world's fastest wooden coaster. It's got that launched lift hill, which is a bit slower, but I think it's a pretty decently long ride for a launched coaster. Even though it had a lot of downtime and it's been closed a lot, I think it's still a really great ride. Next up, we got Skyrush at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And this is another coaster where the main reason why it's a bucket list coaster is because of the airtime. I mean, the airtime on this thing has got to be some of the most intense ejector airtime on any roller coaster. I mean, you've got that Stangle Dive, which I heard is pretty intense. You can gray out on this ride. It's pretty easy. Now, from what I've heard, you don't want to sit on the wing seat, mainly because it just hurts, and also the restraints on this thing, I've heard they're pretty bad. That's why it gets the nickname Thigh Crush. But I personally think I wouldn't mind. I mean, I'm pretty skinny. I feel like it wouldn't bother me. But for someone who's a bit bigger, it might bother you more. But overall, this ride just looks like it has a fantastic layout. You got that drop. You've got all those ejector airtime hills. Yeah. Next up, we got El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. Now, this thing looks incredible. Like, the airtime on this thing looks intense. It looks like you get some really good laterals, especially towards the end. You get some crazy ejector, and I think it's just such a cool ride. I've heard in the back row that the drop in the back row is just really incredible because you get pulled over because you have that cable lift, which it's pretty fast going up, but you already come off with the lift hill with some speed, and you do that turnaround to gain some speed, and you just plummet towards the ground. And it's a very steep drop. It's 76 degrees, and I gotta say, it's also a pretty long ride. I think that, it just looks incredible. Intamin did a fantastic job with this, and it looks like possibly maybe even the best wooden coaster out there. Next up, we have Intimidator 305 at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. Now, the one thing about this ride is it is intense. I mean, you're most likely gonna gray out on it, no matter what, and you may even black out if you get lucky. And this ride it's so intense. Like, I think it's tall, it's fast, it looks enormous because of that support structure, and it's a long ride, it's very fast, it's got a steep drop, it's got pretty much everything you want. It's got a few airtime moments, and it just looks like a phenomenal ride. Next up we have Wildfire at Kolmarden in Sweden. Now, the one thing about this ride that I think I would love is it has pretty much everything. It's a long ride, it's got a ton of ejector, it's intense, it's got the inversions, it's got a steep drop, it's big, it's fast, it's pretty much everything you would want on a roller coaster. And the fact that this is built in a zoo is kind of interesting, considering I don't think very many people go to Sweden to ride roller coasters. I mean, you've got Groenland and Liseberg, but those are really the only reasons why. Now we have Wildfire, and it's probably the main reason why you'd want to go there. And it's a zoo. You really go there to look at animals, but I think this ride you could marathon it so easily. It probably never gets a wait, and it just looks like an incredible coaster. Next up, we have the Schwerteskörnen at Hansapark in Germany. And this ride, I wasn't too. Before I was hearing some reviews about it, I was thinking it's maybe like a top 30 coaster in the world. And then I saw the POV for this thing, and this thing just looks so intense. It's got some cool airtime moments. Of course, you have that huge tower. This thing is a hypercoaster. It is very big. It's got that really good theme. It's got that butterfly looking element. It doesn't go upside down. It is a Girl Star Infinity though, and oh wait, never mind. It does go upside down. It has that barrel roll at the end. Pardon me. We have as soon as you leave the lift hill, you to the brake run. It's just non-stop. This thing is fast paced. It's a long ride, and I'm not gonna spoil anything on the lift hill in case anybody wants to go ride it. But I will say there is a bit of a surprise going up on the lift hill. Next up we have Taron at Phantasialand in Germany, or Taron, whatever you want to call it. And I gotta say, for a while this looked like the #1 coaster, but then I realized it probably isn't, but it is easily one of my bucket list coasters for top 3, top 5, easily top 10, because first of all, it's an Intamin Blitz. It doesn't go upside down, but the theming on this thing looks absolutely incredible. I mean, it's got to be some of the best theming out there. And plus, you've got Rake, that small family coaster, along with it. I think the whole area just looks amazing. I mean, Phantasialand itself looks amazing. Like, Klugheim has got to be one of the best themed areas. Maybe up there with, like, Pandora and Galaxy's Edge, all those cool areas in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Those are all areas that I think could easily be about equal in theming with this ride. And this thing's launch looks fast. I mean, like, you're just going around these corners like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool. It almost feels like a family coaster. And then you just, boom, you're just gone. It is also a very long ride. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around 2 minutes. And it's got the 2 launches. Both launches are great. Personally, I really love the soundtrack for this ride. I think it's definitely a really cool soundtrack, and Klugheim in general is just a really cool area. Next up we have Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, and I'm pretty sure all of you were expecting this to be on here. And I gotta say, this ride just looks incredible. You've got the inversions, it looks really intense. First of all, it's big. And it's got that 90-degree drop. It's fast. It's a very long ride. It's got the most airtime out of any coaster on Earth, and most of that is ejector. Of course, you've got the huge Outer Bank turn, which looks one of the best airtime moments, if not the best. And this ride in general just looks like a really fun ride. It's fast the entire way. It does have the mid-course, but it doesn't really slow you down any. And I gotta say, the view from the top of this thing looks amazing. You get a view of the beach and all of the water surrounding you, and then you're just going down this drop 90 degrees. And I've heard the night ride on this thing, if you can manage to get a background night ride, it is probably one of the best experiences you'll ever have on a roller coaster. And #1, of course, we have DC Rivals Hypercoaster at Warner Bros. Movie World in Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia. And to be honest, I knew about this coaster when it opened. I didn't think it was that good, and then the thing just warmed up so much. Like, it's just going fast, it's just speeding through it. You've got all those airtime hills, you've got that huge non-inverting loop, that like 85-degree drop, I believe. And it is barely a hypercoaster, but it does look like it could be taller than 202 feet. And this ride it's non-stop from start to finish. And I think that this ride has just got the fast pace. It's an amazing ride. Of course, you got that Stangle dive and some of those like Intimidator 305 like transitions. And overall, this ride just looks amazing. That's gonna do it for my top 10 bucket list roller coasters. I would like to hear what your top 10 bucket list roller coasters are. Make sure to leave a like for more videos just like this one, and I will see you guys next time.